Hey everyone, Stephen Ellis here, and let's talk a little bit about Luke Haymes. So, if you don't know much about Haymes, he was considered by many to be the best prospect in the NCAA free agent pool. Now, granted, it wasn't a very strong group. We looked at last year, and Colin Graff was the one that everyone was looking at. And if you couldn't get him, Jacob Quillen, who the Leafs did sign, was another guy that teams were really looking at. But Luke Haymes was the one that, at least from my understanding, Toronto was in from the very get-go. And the Dartmouth College standout had a couple of great seasons there. He was even part of the Leafs development camp last year. So we know that they kind of wanted to play the long game here. This is someone where if you look at the stats, you see a bit of a drop off this year, but you got to take into context. He was dealing with an injury that missed some time. He looked really good after that injury. He led the team in goals in his first 2 years and would have done it again this year had it not been for the injury. So, what can we tell from there? This is a guy that loves to shoot the puck. He's very confident. He's got some good strength too. Like, this is someone who can score, but he can also go out there and hit. And he's not a punishing player. He's not going to go out there and just lay guys out, but he can hold his own physically. And that really helps him play defensively as well, because this is a player who is a 200-foot style guy who's reliable at both ends. Might not be the flashiest player, but at either end of the ice, but he's going to get the job done. And you look at it, there's no true weakness in his game. His skating is not a strength, but it's not a weakness. He's got that great shot. He looks really good as a puck handler. I think he's pretty smart too. And defensively, he's got it going for him. He's very good at faceoffs too. This is a player who, if I'm projecting his a high end, we're talking about a third line center, but he could be a good third line center because you take into account that he's 21 years old. He's got a lot of runway left, but he's also farther along in his development than someone like Fraser Minton, who the Leafs just moved on from. So you're kind of hoping that maybe he becomes that long-term replacement there. But I will be very cautious here and point out that college free agents, for the most part, you're looking for depth. There's a reason these guys have been passed over multiple times at the draft. And with Haymes, I think you're still looking at no true high-end caliber qualities to his game. When you put everything together, yes, you do see a guy who can probably handle the pro game very well, kind of like Jacob Quillen last year. But he's not a play driver. He's not going to go out there and be the best defensive player you could possibly find. He's not going to crush guys, but he's got those tools of someone you still want as a bottom six player. I will also point out that you look at him and the way that he's performed in the last couple of seasons, and he reminds me not completely stylistically, but there's a lot of the same development path improvements that we saw from someone like Alex Steeves a couple of years ago. And with Steeves, obviously he hasn't been able to make it work with the Toronto Maple Leafs, but the one thing that they still find a lot of value in is having someone who could be super important for the Toronto Marlies, because while the average Leafs fan doesn't care how the Marlies do, the organization does, and they want to build a winning culture that starts there, and you want those players to have those opportunities to become impact players at the next level, and that starts with the Toronto Marlies. So having guys who could be impact players there is important. There's a reason they keep bringing back Logan Shaw, knowing that he's never going to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a reason they brought in Alex Nylander this year, who he did play at the Leafs, but very short period of time. You still want to go out there and win the Calder Cup. And with Luke Haymes, if that's all he ends up becoming, fine. You know what? That's kind of on par with what you'd expect from college players. But if he becomes more than that, it was absolutely worth the signing. And that's what you're really looking at here, is finding value. You're not getting a top six player out of college. Colin Graff, the San Jose Sharks, that's kind of a one-off. But again, it's the San Jose Sharks. Like, he spent the first half of the year in the AHL before getting called up, partly because San Jose just doesn't have a lot of depth to work with. So if you're looking at Haymes and hoping he becomes this high-end player because you see the headlines of him being one of the best college players, I think you're stretching it a bit. But if you want someone who has this ability to potentially be a bottom six impact player, you might actually get it here. So very nice signing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Luke Haymes, you're going to get to see him at development camp, training camp, and then right now we're going to see him with the Marlies. So we're going to see what he can do at the pro level.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long-form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.